Mic Drop Radio.
Whoa! We're back!
We are.
We're back! The Drew. What did we call you last time? I don't remember.
Schwartz and the Grew.
The Schwartz and the Grew. Drive home show. My man!
Your drive time commute. Coming at you live.
Yep. Coming at you from the wild world of all of the streaming channels that we just recently discovered, like Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on LinkedIn. We're on 2 Facebooks, really, on mine. I could probably add yours as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we could probably do some fancy stuff where I'm restreaming onto all mine too, so we could be like on like 20 channels all at once.
Dude, why haven't we done this? You're the tech.
Yeah,
like,
true. I gotta get that.
What are we doing?
I will get this set up for next week.
Next week.
We will be
restreaming
all over the place.
You will get sick of us, guaranteed.
It's like
what's
it's like the old school like a cartoon character or whatever, like going through the channels and it's the same thing on every channel.
Yes. Oh
yeah, that'll be us.
That'll be us. Yeah, we have now populated all of the channels, every channel you can imagine for this 45-minute segment. Here we go.
Yeah. I'm gonna put you over to you first.
Yep.
What have you been listening to this week? What's been on the playlist?
I had a lot of time this time last week to be reflective. A lot of my music has been getting back to, it sounds self-centered until you realize why, getting back to frequency music. I let that part of me go for a little while where I was like, oh, I'm good. And then just as, an athletic therapist sees their client and they, okay, how have those exercises been going? And why are you injured again? Well, I stopped doing the exercise. I stopped listening to frequency music for a moment. And frequency music is funny because especially me holding on, we'll get to it, I'm sure. But last week I was in the hospital, and when you're in the hospital, it's an interesting moment of truth. I think many people can relate, where they're like, you know what? I'm here, and I maybe know why, or maybe I don't know why. Either way, you have a lot of chance to reflect on what got you there, what landed you in the hospital bed. And for me, I went back to I promote music as healing. My body is upset right now. What if I just start listening to my old stuff? So I've been listening to a lot of Listening to Smile, our mutual homie over there, Ian Morris, and his music was really great. I still got to send him a show note on that, be like, hey, buddy, your music really helped. Thank you. Brought my heart rate right back down. Outside of that, I've had an opportunity to listen to a lot of local artists here in Calgary and as part of homework, really. So I've had a very diverse plate of everything from country, Kate Reed, I drum for her, and so learning a lot of country stuff, learning a lot of the set. Most of the stuff though has been back to me and frequency stuff, and listening to the demos that I did with my producer a couple of weeks ago, and just hearing different spots and creating music and little vocal melodies in my head as well. How about you? You been anything in particular?
I've been going down nostalgia lane lately.
Okay.
What was I listening to back in 1999?
What was Jer listening to in '99?
A smattering of things. It was definitely the time period of nu metal and things like that. And
totally, dude.
That it was even more funny is that I had one of my good buddies. Also, he was a drummer in a group that I was in for a while. He had posted a show that's coming up with a band called Jimmy's Chicken Shack. If you remember them, they had a one-hit wonder, late '90s thing, and I was like, I have that CD in my closet.
I've never even heard of them.
Yeah, there was the kind of that alt rock late '90s vibe to it. It's not super heavy. It's not super light. I think the main guy plays it's just kind of just fun, most of it.
Okay, yeah.
So that popped up. One of my absolute favorite bands, especially from teenage years, was the early to mid career of AFI back in their post-hardcore days. Yeah, so I was
I got you.
rocking rocking Black Sails in the Sunset and Art
You
of
were
Drowning.
like borderline goth then, eh?
Oh yeah,
Punk
man.
goth.
Oh,
Wow.
I'll send you some pictures, and you'll be like, what?
Dude, I can imagine. I was just watching like this side note, but not really. I was watching Letterkenny. Are you familiar with
Yep,
the show?
100%,
Okay,
yeah.
so the pilot episode, I watched that just last night as like a break from work. It was so funny. But you remind me of like the kid, like the goth kids doing the breakdancing thing, and then
Yep.
I'm like,
I-
oh,
I-
was that you?
I had a hard time. I've always had a hard time with that show because I go, that's part is like there's a part of it that is funny, but I'm like, "No, that's just where I grew up. Like this is just a documentary now.
Yeah, dude. I know. I feel the same way in a very weird way. I'm like, wow, I was the hockey bro, but not really because I was also the hick, but I was also the weird goth kid, and I was also like all of them.
Yeah, all the archetypes all at once.
Yeah.
All the
Yeah, I'm like,
totally.
chameleon. That's cool. Okay, so we had some AFI, some band I never heard of, and
Yeah.
I mean nostalgia lane. That's cool.
It's kind of funny.
I like
you
that.
know, it's interesting to go back to music like that too, of like seeing it from a completely different lens.
Yeah.
Because
Oh yeah.
like, you know, 20
What-
plus years, almost 30 years removed from that.
And how real it was at the time.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Now you look back. Like look at AFI's lyrics.
yeah.
Was that
there's
Davey Havoc? Is that
some- Yep, that was the.
Oh.
That's still the vocalist. They apparently had
still?
an album
They're still kicking,
come out.
hey?
They were still out there and rocking and doing things.
No way.
Yeah, they've changed a
Wow.
lot, but you know that's just evolution of an
Art,
artist.
right? Yeah. Very important.
Definitely. What are we talking about this week?
Dude, I got on the dock. We were talking purpose because I know we were going to come back. And I just, decided to take a week off.
Yeah.
All to be it with purpose. Because otherwise we wouldn't be here. Yeah, we were talking purpose and more importantly, like how the difference between goals and purpose. Because I think in my line of work anyways, people mistake those quite often. I had a great conversation earlier today, actually a couple of really great conversations this week with some new artists that are interested in bringing me onto the team. And I say that very intentionally is because they've got a team. And I thought about it as on my way back up into the building. This is one of the things that I think is important to discuss. It's been coming up in a few posts in social media, and I've seen it in the news and things like that when I happen to see the news. And it's like people are outraged at things like escalators breaking. And like, I'm like, I know there's a technical side to it. Don't use the broken escalator. And why are we upset that they are now stairs? And then I thought about it as I walked past a herd of people because it's at the end of the workday. So people are getting back home from work and they're standing in the lobby at the elevator. I didn't even know for a long time that was where I didn't know we had an elevator. I always used stairs. So when I think about goals and purpose, my purpose is to work with people, and this is very out there, people that take stairs. The goal is to work it's to work with X number. That's a finite thing. That can be achieved. A goal can be achieved, in my opinion. A purpose is so much bigger. It's unattainable, in my opinion. I'd love to get your thoughts on that, just to crack it wide open. What in the athletic community, or also very interestingly, your music career, what has been a defining feature of either of those, and what separates the two? Could you speak to that?
Yeah, I can. And also I wanted to, because you said it, it's one of my favorite Mitch Hedberg bits. An escalator can never break because then it becomes stairs.
Oh, is that a Hedberg? Oh my God.
That's a Hedberg thing.
Oh my God. I didn't even know that because I thought that was just like a thing, like the
Said
escalator's
broken
broken.
escalator, and I just went.
That's stairs, man.
It
That's
is.
what I mean though.
Yeah.
They're now stairs, guys.
Yeah.
And I made a comment on that. And I got heat. You can't use them. I'm like, oh my God, you're missing the point, dude. You're getting worked up about an escalator breaking. Just take the fucking stairs.
It's a problem opportunity. Just
Yes, right?
You're turning this into a problem, and it could be an opportunity to move
Yeah.
your body a little bit, man. Anyways,
Bingo.
problem, or problem.
Purpose.
Purpose.
The other P word.
Purpose and goals.
Yeah.
Very much so. Like in looking at my past career as an artist, and like the artistic endeavors that I've done in my life, it's very easy to turn that into the goal being of success. The goal being of I'm gonna get the deal. Do people still have record deals? I don't even know. Not really.
Yeah. Yeah is the answer.
Yeah.
Are they great?
Get the goal, like get the record deal, get the tour, get the
Become an
album
artist.
out, become an
Even
artist.
just that.
Yep.
Become
Be full time
go on
only
tour.
as an artist.
Yeah.
And so often that achievement comes into a perspective that I think or I see as like almost like a job.
Yep.
Like I'm making this into just the time, energy, money equation. I'm trying to adjust my camera because the sun is being crazy.
Yeah, you had a cool lighting there. That was like very. What are the kids saying now? Demure.
Oh yeah, I think that's one of them.
That's a word, hey?
Yeah.
Never heard of it. Anyway.
What is? I don't even know what the trend is. I'm not even gonna try to butcher it. Anyways, we get so distracted with the achievement. We get so distracted with the. I can consider myself successful, or I can really believe that I'm an artist when I've done X. Again, it comes back to a concept that we talk about very often on previous live streams and elsewhere of identity being a big portion of this. And when we look at like goal-driven activities versus purpose-driven activities, that purpose-driven activity still has a very deep hook into that identity of self.
Yeah.
And like how many times I've heard from clients that I've had like lifestyle programs, lifting programs, even just people in my day-to-day life of, I got to find my purpose. Seeming like it's this vision quest. I have to go
under the tree.
Yeah, I have to go and meditate under a tree for 30 days with, like I have to have all of these things in a row. And that sounds very much in this like goals thing of like, when I do all these goals, then I'll find my purpose. I'll find what this is. And I would challenge folks to look at that of like, what is the actual driving factor for you that comes from your identity, your belief of what, like who you are?
Yeah.
And come back to that first and allow that to drive your decisions forward.
Yeah.
I'll say this in a different way because this maybe makes sense a little bit more from a business standpoint. So if you're a business owner and you are selling widgets and you're in a position where nobody's buying widgets, in order to survive as a business, you need to have cash inflow. So then you start discounting your widgets. And then you also then realize that over time, you're maybe, even though you're selling more widgets, you're making less money. And so you've made this decision because your goals haven't been achieved.
Yeah.
To discount your widgets, thus actually putting yourself in a poorer position. That decision comes from this space of scarcity and not from a sense of having a strong purpose of why do I sell widgets in the first place? These widgets can save people's lives. They can change their lives, whatever it is. And when I can make my decisions from that purpose-driven statement or this purpose-driven idea, I would make very different decisions as a business owner. Is that tracking?
No, I get it. I'm thinking of it with like conversations I've had in the last week here where that would blow the doors off of most people's idea of what purpose is. Because more often than not, I ask that question and it's like, so what's your purpose? And they'll be like, I just want to make music and help inspire people. Okay, like it sounds good. It sounds good. It does. Like you write that, you're probably going to get a grant because people at the grant, they don't fucking understand shit. That sounds really fluffy as well. And it also attaches you to something that, okay, well, you do that right now. So there's your purpose.
So are you
Ta-da.
fully fulfilled?
Are you
Wait, you
fulfilled?
can quit
No.
now? You can stop
Yeah.
being a musician?
That's what I mean is that, so the challenge I have with purpose being built like that is like, well, I mean, it's unattainable, but it seems as though that's just a goal. So, because you've attained it. So purpose to me, like the defining characteristic of a purpose is unattainable.
Mm-hmm.
You will never achieve purpose. You will always be working towards it, and that's the beauty of it. But it's more like a legacy piece, where that is the moving factor of what keeps you waking up every day.
Yeah.
The goal is already achieved if you've done it right. I'm like, so because like my question is like, have you done that before? They're like, yeah, I love it. I'm like, then it's done.
Well, how many more
That's
times
not your
do you need to do
purpose.
it? So is
Yeah.
now the new purpose to do this 1,000,000 times, 1,000 times?
Right.
What's the specificity of it?
And now it becomes again a benchmark, and that's where I get lost with people is that they really in the artist world they attach themselves to their creative endeavor, which is dangerous. Like that's super dangerous because what happens when you have a stroke and you're no longer allowed to do that? Now you have no purpose? Oh, okay, good,
Yeah.
great, that's awesome.
And again, that's an like when you have no purpose or you feel like you've created that
Right.
that scenario for yourself.
Yeah,
That's an obliteration of your own identity because you only see yourself through that lens. And when
of
that's
the
gone,
creative. Yeah,
when that's gone,
not-
what happens?
yeah.
Yeah, I had
So,
a friend of mine recently have to deal with this with retiring from weightlifting.
Right.
From 15 years old to 24 years old, weightlifting was my purpose.
Wow.
And having a chat about it is like, was it your purpose? Was it your identity of who you thought you were? Is I am a weightlifter.
That, yeah, I know because the artist really they glorify that. It's like a really strange shake on victimhood. They really glorify that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm an artist. My purpose on this earth, in this physical space, is to create art. No, that is a thing that you get to do. That is not a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's such a weird, ethereal way to look at it, but like the only way that I can really define it is it's unattainable.
Yeah.
Like for me, purpose is to cultivate community, to cultivate connection.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I can always do. That's something that is unattainable as well. It's something I do every single day and will never achieve. You know, because like it's so much bigger. But to say that that's only through my music would pigeonhole me in my art. And then when I don't create, when I decide that I don't make music anymore, I had that same experience that your friend did when I retired from speed skating. I was lost, dude. I was like I went into I didn't even know this existed, but proactive depression. Like I had my team, my cardiology team actually put me in with like, what is it? Brain? No, not brain. What is it? Heart. What is the name of the heart? Fuck, it's called Heart something. It's a company that really specifies with like empathy training and being, graceful with yourself and really regulating your HRV by the end of it.
Was it hard?
And that was really great. I didn't even know there was a thing, but for high-level athletes in Canada, yep, you get that kind of treatment because like it's so profoundly popular that people fall into this depression because they've only identified themselves as this thing. And then when that's done, they're like, well, now what? I'm a complete waste of a human being. I have no purpose.
Yeah. It didn't happen to
Weird.
be heart math, was it?
Heart math, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why that was so
You know,
struggling.
fun fact about that
Mm.
is a company I used to work for here in exotic Fargo, North Dakota, actually built the mobile app for it. So if you hate it, that's our fault.
No, don't
It
hate
had
it at
some
all.
performance things, but yeah, I'm very familiar with those folks.
Yeah.
Uh,
I remember excelling at it,
Mhm.
and people didn't understand. Like, you're very good at this. Your heart
Yeah.
rate is down. I'm really in tune with like mindfulness, guys. Like, I'm down with this shit. it was cool. They actually offered me. They're like, I think you should teach this, and I just never pursued it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was that in Canada. That's actually a really, really popular thing. You know, people in performance athletics really struggle, as you can imagine. I'm sure it's worldwide, it's a global thing. We really, really struggled with that identity piece. And I think when we compare the two, artists and athletes, I imagine it's just not talked about nearly as much as it should be in the artist world, in the artist community. When people really, and because I also believe that people are very confused with what purpose truly is. If you're an artist and you think that your purpose on here on earth is to create art for people to love, you're going to be very disappointed. Like incredibly, like you might as well stop right now if that's your purpose. Stop, please, because that's not that you're going to be very, very disappointed. People will not love it, and you will stop creating art.
So how would you, with somebody that has that viewpoint, or has that as they've defined that as their purpose?
Mm-hmm.
How would you help step somebody through flipping that to find out well, if that's not my purpose, what is?
I would first start defining what purpose is with them. I would ask, okay, what does purpose mean to you? Because like, sure, I can pull up the definition. We know from our work through the language ninjaism, purpose can mean something completely different. And until I understand what they think purpose is, I have no place telling them what it is. So I would first start with, okay, well, let's define purpose. And most often I would get a response, and this is one that comes to mind, is that I would get a response, well, the thing I'm supposed to do. Whoa, that's okay. That now I know where you're coming from. And now knowing where you're coming from, I see why that's your purpose. Mm-hmm. Do and be is very different.
That's exactly
We're human
where
beings.
I was gonna go.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's where I go. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. It sounds like it's a do, which means it can be accomplished, correct? Yep. So you believe that you're going to be able to achieve your purpose? Yep. If I keep on working at it, I'm like, that sounds more like a goal. What's the definition of a goal for you? And then they'll be like, oh, that is a goal. Because their definition of goal is that. I'm like, it seems as though that you have now cloudy vision on what a purpose and a goal is, and those two need to be separate. So when we realize that we've been mistakenly calling our goals our purpose, that opens up the door for having that conversation of what purpose really means, and then we can redefine it. But that would be my first step. It'd be like, okay, we'll define purpose, and it's usually goals.
Absolutely. And there can be oftentimes when people are exploring this area for themselves, it can pop up in some interesting ways. Tell a little story of
Please, sounds like you've got a couple here. Hit me.
So that was something that through various career changes in my life, that, like feeling like I was just wandering from place to place, never like not having that well defined for myself. It's like, well, I'm just trying to get by. I'm trying to do things I enjoy and do just do the things.
Freewheeling.
Yeah, basically. And back in, when was this, 2022, I went to a men's leadership retreat down in Austin, Texas. Was recommended to me by my boss at the time, run by a friend of hers, or a mentor, teacher, friend of hers. And went to this. I kind of knew what I was getting myself into. I'm sure you know a lot of the people who were there, or at least have heard of some of these people. But got there, and I'm trying to remember the exact. We were getting ready to sit in ceremony, and we were waiting for that, and they had a table with a bunch of oracle cards spread out. And we're in day 1.5, day 2 of this retreat, and we're getting ready to drop into this ceremony, and like, well, I'm gonna just ask the question out there of like, the fuck am I here for? What's the point of me?
What is the point of me?
And in going into that, I was very much in a space of, I had taken my first big vacation ever, like as an adult, not like a childhood vacation with the family or anything like first time I actually took a real vacation. Yeah. Oftentimes I would take time off of work to go do a side gig or go
work more.
Yeah. Or like, all right, we're gonna go do a mini tour or something. Like take off time of work to go work, or like it's always in that achievement, always in that dude, go. And looking at that, I was like, this is a pattern I really want to break for myself. So simply just ask that question of myself of, what are you here for, dude? Yeah, I did the thing, pulled a card. It's like, let's just see what comes up, and see what I will react to. And the card that I pulled was the Healer. This is an archetypes, based off of Jungian archetypes oracle deck, and I just stared at it, and I was like, well, this is just like, how could I ever be a healer? And I sat with it, and remembered something from earlier in my life that I had latched onto as a concept that I felt was really important. The phrase is tikkun olam.
What's that mean?
Is a Hebrew phrase of, it can mean many things. Achieving this can allow you to have your place in the age to come, whatever you want to make, is an afterlife or continued on life after your death. Legacy can mean many things.
Yeah.
And to achieve this, your goal or your achievement is tikkun olam, which is heal the world.
Yeah.
And it's like, from a purpose standpoint, because that can be so many things. And that can be, there's always going to be more that needs to happen. There's never, I don't want to say never, a point where everything's healed in the world, everything is perfect and amazing. Like, could happen at some point, but there's always going to be ups and downs, light and dark, contrast. And there's always going to be more room to help people in the world grow. And so that was that hit me like a ton of bricks. Of like, oh,
especially
man.
From where you were coming from too, right?
Yeah. And so it's, well, okay, I've been in this space of go, achieve. Even though I was full-time coaching at that point, doing my best to help people, I recognized that in order to keep that going, like, I have to look at this from a perspective of actually working towards my purpose and not working towards the arbitrary specific goals of I need to get X amount of clients before the end of the week, or and that started to allow me to look at that much more holistically and look at it as, well, if my purpose is to heal the world, just like a business owner making a very different decision, I get to make a very different decision of how I bring that forward for myself. And that can take so many shapes and forms, and that can take so many paths. It doesn't have to always be working full-time in a gym as a coach.
I mean, oftentimes it's the opposite of that, right? Like, it's so funny we're talking about this because it's a full circle moment. Like, that's literally why we did not have show last week. It's like I was in that exact. It's interesting too, and maybe you can reflect on this. I'd love your thoughts. It's like we teach this stuff, and I see it in my clients where they don't see it, and then they're off the cliff, but they're going that way, and they don't realize it because their body is able to adjust and their mindset is able to adjust. We're very adaptable. Humans are very, very adaptable to the situation until we're not. And that's literally what happened to me. And then in reflection, where I had hours on my back just being like in a hospital going like, oh, okay. And I pulled up my monthly report on Whoop. And I pulled up all of my stats. And I actually like, wow, had I just like looked at this 4 weeks ago, we would have seen this trend. Heart rate, resting heart rate's going up. Heart rate variability is going down. recoveries are getting few and far between. Like it's mostly red and yellow now. I think I had 23 out of 30 were yellow,
Wow.
like yellow or red.
Mm-hmm.
I had 3 or 4, I forget, in the entire month of September, green recoveries. I had more green recoveries in the hospital in my first few days than I did all last month. That says something right there, guy. Like just turn off, like what you're saying, the do. I am an absolute workaholic. Like absolutely, 100%. Now I get it. Just because you don't consider what you do work doesn't mean you don't need to shut off from it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's very negation acknowledged. I'm actually in the process here now of like getting rid of all of my workspace. That's my first priority for this week and next week is like losing the workspace from my home and turning my home back into a home. Because when I came back from the hospital, man, don't want to talk purpose? I came back to a house, not a home. I came back to a place that was like, wow, this feels like an office. Like, and I didn't, because I was in it so much, I didn't even realize it. But you know what I mean? Like, we're in it so much that we don't realize what's happening until we like fall off the fucking cliff. And that's what happened. And when I came back in, I was with my friend and her guy, and we all kind of just like, oh wow, this is like not. Of course, I was like working so much. It's all I have here. I have a drum set, but that's even work. You know, like when we think, I know it's not, and it is. I get paid for it. It's work, technically. I'm a professional musician. So, like, me taking that lesson and hearing what you went through with the awesome, I'm like, oh, yeah, that sounds very similar to what I was doing right now because, like, I didn't have time offline. Like, literally, it was so easy for me to wake up, pour myself a coffee, have some breakfast, and then I'd even find myself like eating within arm's reach of my workstation right here.
Yeah, if not at it.
If not at it. And oftentimes I would have the discipline to not like sit down and like eat and work. I would do that, but in the same space, it's still the energy. We're still very energetic as humans, right? It would be very different if I had a 2-bedroom and I can move this entire thing into a completely different thing because like I have that rule in my bedroom. My bedroom is for sleep and fun activity.
Yep.
Like that's it. That's it. There's nothing else that happens in my bedroom. We need the same principles applied with that discipline to work. And that's where like the post I made yesterday on Instagram where I was talking about work and balance as opposed to harmony. Balance is like the baseline, man. Like that's base. That's base. Like you've got to have that. Otherwise you're hooped. Harmony is how do we take this and actually integrate it? How do we make this part of our life? How do we make this like up the ante a bit?
I would actually, to piggyback on that because you hear so many, especially professional world of work-life balance and all these things.
Yeah.
And I like what you said about the harmony side of it because I believe that that's the only way, really, because balance feels like balance is often a trap for many people.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
It's because it reinforces this all or nothing idea.
Yeah.
It's like I have to be 100% on and going at work all the time, that I'm at work, and then I'm 100% off. It's like, can I integrate those things, just like you said, a little bit better? Because there's also this component of it too of like recognizing this for myself, and even in the past few weeks of having a new job and a new situation of like feeling like I'm chained to my desk from my office hours and whatnot, that like I'm struggling to solve this problem right now. I'm struggling to figure out what I need to do, and I've had that little tickle of the feather in like the back of my mind because it comes as a feather, a brick, or a Mack truck. Unfortunately, you got the Mack truck.
Couple times.
Maybe that was the brick. Who knows?
Maybe. Hopefully. Yeah.
Hopefully
maybe not the Mack truck. Oh, okay. Here we go.
Yep.
I'm awake
now. Yeah.
I'm listening. Yeah.
Is that oftentimes when we feel really bogged down or we feel like that pressure, taking the time away feels like the wrong answer and the wrong solution.
Yeah.
And being able to recognize that for yourself, and like I've been recognizing that tickle of the feather of like, just go outside and just like walk around the block with the dog.
Yeah.
Go outside and enjoy the sunshine for 5 minutes. 5 minutes away from the computer screen, the world
Be
is not
good.
going to
Yeah,
end.
it's really going to be good for you. Yeah.
Yes.
I've had a lot of moments like that for the last week.
And that's where that integration and harmony piece comes into play. Rather than wait till the end of the day and try to go and soak up as much waning sunlight as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Especially then at the end of the day when I'm drained and I don't want to do these things anyways. I just want to like lay on a couch and stare at a wall because my brain feels like soup.
Yep. Yeah.
Or
dude.
and so it's, how can I integrate these things into my day versus figure out the balance point on the schedule.
Now, if people are sitting there and watching, I feel called to say something like the hack that I got away from in September that I've now recently been even more motivated to get back on board with is the 45 and 5. So 45 minutes of work, 5 minutes of rest, play, do everything, like anything but on screen or on your phone. Like it doesn't mean like do another job. It goes like go swing a kettlebell, go for a walk, take the pup out, go drink a shit ton of water, really good, fuel yourself, get up, do some Tai Chi, do some Qigong, like anything.
The pattern interrupt.
Yeah, for 5 minutes. You are so much more productive all day. So that, and I'm noticing this, like, it's so funny that I keep on coming back. I'm like, we don't notice it when we're in it. We notice it when something happens. But now that something has happened for me, I'm really picking up. I'm like, I am ineffective right now. Like I'm very, very acutely aware of like, this is not a project. And I'm just so committed to trying to get things started and finished in the same day. Like all of my projects, like imagine this. You're a tech guy. You'll understand this to the nth degree. Imagine trying to write a 52 email sequence in one day. In my head, yesterday at the top of the day, I thought that was doable. I was like, yep, I'm going to do this today. Who the fuck does that? Like, how does that sound healthy?
Copywriters don't even do that.
No, that's what I mean. I'm like,
or if they do, they've got robots doing it for them. So
yeah, or like I was even trying to like outsource my brother and be like, Sean, you do as many as you can. I'll do as many as we can. We can do this in 2 hours. I'm like, not even close, man. I think I'm on like I've got all of them written now with the help of ChatGPT as well, but you got to proof all that stuff.
Yeah.
But there are tools that can help us. So I've learned how to leverage them. And then it's still so important to like take the time to make sure that it's not just to get it out. Like here's where we come full circle. What's the purpose? What's the purpose of this whole sequence? Is this going to be like a one and done? No, this is literally your legacy of your work. And it's going to set up those 52 weeks is going to set up your talking points for the 50. Make sure they're good. Make sure they're right. Make sure, like, take your time on this. Like, what if you had patience? My fucking dad. Dad, I love you, man. You say things that are so profoundly impactful in my life that I don't even think you understand. He's at the hospital and he's not saying much, right? Because he knows. He's like, this kid's stubborn as all hell. He sees a lot of him in me. So he knows that it's like talking to a wall. And I was like, Dad, you're not saying much. He's like, you don't have much to say. Clear. What would you do? He's like, just remember to be patient. I'm like, ooh. Yeah. Because I just wanted to get out that day. When my parents showed up, I wanted to get out. That was like Friday. I want to get out. I'm out. I'm leaving. I don't need to be here. Well, you do. Borderline heart attack, kid. Like, you should probably stay there for a bit. Make sure that, be patient. What's it going to, like, literally, why do you think this phrase even comes up? What's it going to kill you? It's not. Yeah. Like, stay there one more day, get all the information, make an educated decision.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting thing, too, of, like, because we have that drive for ourselves often. Of, like, have you ever gotten to this point where you've done everything possible that you've ever wanted, like, you've run out of work to do?
Not ever.
You're always going to find something more.
I've got 4 or 5 things that I've actually got to like put on another back burner. Not the back burner, the second back burner.
Yeah. Got to get a whole new stove for some of mine.
Yeah. I got a whole new home. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it, dude.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
There's always more work. There's always going to be more to do. And that's, some people in the world do need a bit of a nudge and some push, a gentle nudge in the right direction. Some people do need a little bit more. Most of us need to chill out a little bit on this stuff. Because this time last year, I was very much in the same space of what you're talking about. I'm gonna write the most perfect coaching program. I'm gonna have it all done in 2 days or whatever. And it's like, when you talked about, well, what's the purpose of it? Well, is the purpose of it to check the box?
Yeah.
It's the email series? Is the purpose to have an email series? Or is the purpose something else about what the email series is supposed to generate? Because when we look at it from the I need to make a 52-week nurture campaign, that's again, it comes back to that's a job. That's a task at a job.
Task.
But it's it's not strategic. It's not purpose driven. And what are the outcomes going to be if I treat it like, well, I'm going to do it in an hour? My outcomes are probably pretty poor.
You can have a lot of people leave in an hour.
Yeah, it's true. I also had when you mentioned about the 45 minutes on, 5 off.
Yeah.
I was just talking about this with a coworker today. I was like, I have my timers.
Oh, cool.
And so I have a handful of these all around the place to remind me, because I will get overly obsessed and distracted with something and go, how did 5 hours go by?
I can do it. Yeah, I know.
Or and also there is something to be said about, I know if I sit and stare at this for too long, I'm actually going to stare at the problem too long, and I'm going to delay making a decision.
Yeah.
So it's a little mushroom. Wait for my alarm. Okay, all right. Did I make the decision? Do I need 5 more minutes? Do I need 10 more minutes?
Yeah.
Because oftentimes some of these small tasks and things like that, you do need a little bit of push. Yeah. And also allow yourself to say, I'm dedicating this amount of focus to it.
After that,
I'm setting 5 minutes to not focus on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the biggest awakening, quite literally, pun intended, is that I would start projects way later in the day. I would say it was me just doing, my vacation. Mm-hmm. I actually said this to another colleague. I was like, well, listen, man, I don't work at 5 o'clock because then it's, that's when I start my music. Mm-hmm. Wait a minute. What? No, it's that you've already gassed yourself from 8 to 5. Yeah. And now you're going to go and try to work and creative projects. I mean, you know it from the muse will tickle you at 8:30. Mm-hmm. And then it's 2:30. You're like, well, I finished. And I love to finish the project. I hated until I had this experience last week. I hated leaving a project unfinished in Logic. I would literally have to start the thing and then master the thing in the same day, in the same space. Mm-hmm. Well, that's a lot of pressure. Yeah. We're talking album. Tool took 14 fucking years to record an album.
And you know what I'm saying? I can't give myself 14 hours.
I can't even give myself 4 hours. No, I can't even give 4 hours. No, that's crazy. I would stay up till all hours of the night and think of this accomplishment for what? For what? And it comes back down to the do. It was checking the list for, and what I discovered, and this is where it gets deep, is I'm just seeking some sort of external validation because I'm not actually happy. I'm lonely. I'm not spending the time. Man, the best part about going to the hospital was getting to see my friends.
Yeah.
Oh shit, my friends are here. Oh wow, I see what I did. Fuck. And then I had built up such a reputation in the hospital, and over 48 hours, anybody coming in checking my name, the front desk was like, are you bringing in food? That's how bad Canadian healthcare food is. And everybody was like, yeah, absolutely. Oh, dude, it's bad, man. It's margarine.
I saw a video today or yesterday or whatever it was, Sodexo or whoever that is. They provide all the food to a lot of these places, and they they in the U.S. particularly, they used to provide, or they still do, provide a lot of food to prisons. And so it's like when you were in school and you're like equating it to feeling like it's prison food. Guess what? You're right.
Yeah, because it is.
Similar thing that I talked to my dad about this week.
Mm.
It was so I did a family constellation therapy session a while back.
I don't even know what that is, but it sounds great.
It's fantastic. That was another one from my retreat experience that I mentioned. The purpose.
Yeah.
That was one that I haven't had very many moments that really like shook my understanding of like my place in the world.
Yeah,
Family constellation therapy was definitely one of them.
I did it. Hey,
Like
cool.
that was it was one of those ones that was described to me, and I was like, I'm a rational, science-based man. Like this sounds like
Hocus pocus.
yeah, exactly. I was like, I'll believe it when I see it. Type, and I like, and also check myself. I'm like, you know what? Give it a shot.
Cool. Try.
Let's observe.
What if?
Yeah, exactly. And wild. It was like it was a room full of men. Many of us had met 2 days prior, and going through these sessions, and you're seeing like wild emotions happening, swings of emotions, and people play acting some of these things out that they're just feeling in the moment. They know nothing about the situation of the person that's the client or the patient or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And you just start feeling stuff. And it was wild and crazy. Went through a session one-on-one, and something that got reflected back to me is, again, this idea of workaholism. Like, I feel like I get into the same pattern, this trap over and over and over and over again. And the facilitator's asking me a lot of questions about, family life and all of these components. And one of the things that reflected back was, well, I'm hearing that your dad worked all the time. He wasn't really around as much because he was working really hard to provide for you guys.
Mm.
Have you ever seen it as, hey, Dad, I love you so much. I'm trying to become you.
Yeah.
That hit like a ton of bricks.
Ugh. Ugh. Yeah.
I told that to my dad this week, and he just laughed. He's like, it's not that easy, is it?
That's a really good way to put it for me in my situation too, because my dad was the same. Like he worked for the government.
60 hours a week.
He would work, and it was all for providing. Now, granted, I don't have a family like he did, and I still find myself like I'm working so much, and if I work those kind of hours, I don't get any further ahead than if I work 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Like actually, like I've done the fucking metrics on it. Like that's not going to actually put me ahead more.
It's the performative act of being busy, or as I like to bring up sometimes, the tyranny of the urgent. We get ruled by the things that we've labeled as urgent in our lives, and most of it is, I gotta send that email, I gotta finish that track, I gotta write 30 programs and
promote social media posts.
The other side of it too is like into your point of like the slowing down, the finding the balance and the harmony. I may have brought this up before, of my route to my gym space crosses 2 train tracks.
Yep.
And oftentimes I will see the old guardrails come down. Well, I know there's a way to bypass those.
Yeah.
It goes down a few blocks, and I got to go underneath them, come around. And the amount of times that I've done that, and I come back around to that same intersection, and I see the people who were behind me getting in front of me at the next light, and I go,
how did that happen?
had I just waited, I actually would have been ahead of where
I am
right now.
That's very valid, dude. And I learned that this last week. I was like, because and I know what happened too, and this was the remarkable part with all the doctors. And this is so cool that it all plays into purpose, is like the doctors are so quick to like band-aid the situation. Like we're gonna give you this drug here, adenosine. What it's gonna do is we need to know that you give us permission to inject this into you. What it'll do is it'll stop your heart, but it'll come back. I'm like, no, it's a hard no. Because what you're doing right now is looking at the symptom, not what is actually the underlying. On the final day that I was there, which led to me asking for my let me go, leave jail card. The EP, they call him, the electrophysiologist, I believe is what the technical EP cardiologist is. He was the first guy that is like, I just reviewed your charts and I just like to know like, how are you? I'm like, I feel great, man. Can I share why I think? Because like nobody's actually really asked me any questions. Can I share what I think's going on? He's like, yeah, absolutely. And I said, like, I just looked through all my notes on Whoop. I'm uncertain if you're familiar with what Whoop does, but they give me a whole performance write-up of last month, and I just reviewed that. Wish I would have done that before, because, like, had I read it, I would have known to not, having this conversation right now. We wouldn't even be here. I strongly believe it's overwork, overtraining, and not actually doing any sleeping, which, regardless of what you're doing, if you're always on, your heart is now overload, and your circadian rhythm is what I've read, and you can confirm this, Doc. Your circadian rhythm is the majority for normal healthy adults, plays a key role in your arrhythmia and your rhythm of your heart. So if you're off in your circadian cycle, your heartbeat is off because it's been on for too long. So it's overacting or it's underacting. And either way, it's going to cause irregular heartbeats. Am I correct? He's like, yeah, that's exactly it. So why aren't you sleeping? Oh, thank you, Doc. First guy.
Yep.
First guy that asked me about what my lifestyle was like.
Yep. And you had to lead him there.
I had to lead him into the conversation, though. So, like, that is the first. It's not just a medical thing. We are so quick to solve only solution or look for solutions only for symptoms and band-aid the situation. For instance, the artist that wants to get famous is now going to go and purchase, instead of like craft of the song, they're going to look for like, what's the quickest way to get to success or whatever that is. And when we talk about success, I literally just wrote this out for one of the artists. I think of it as an iceberg. This is what everybody sees, and that's like your live performance, that's your showmanship, that's your everything that's out here. What's really going to sink the ship, though, is the attention to the mindfulness, the movement, the nutrition, the mindset, all the stuff that's under the surface, because that's what, if you miss that and you're going to this island of success that you think is the tip of the iceberg, it's really just the performance, and if that's your focus, how do I get more eyes on me, on that type of thing? You're missing the fact that, and you're going to hit that fucking, your Titanic is basically what I'm trying to say here, is you're fucked. You're fucked. You're absolutely fucked because you're not paying attention to the stuff that actually matters. And that's the matter of taking those 3 or 4 days off.
Yeah.
1 day a week, mandatory, off. 1 day a week now, mandatory. I've actually cut more than half of my work days off since being admitted into hospital. I'm like, no, that's just not worth it for me anymore. I'm not going to do that because like that's where it got me.
I have something for the artists out there based on this conversation.
Ready.
Because this has come up a couple of times, especially as something that you've brought forward is what artists are looking for oftentimes as their purpose or their main goal.
Yeah.
I want more eyes on me.
Yeah.
And like looking, or I want to be known, or I want to be famous. There's that subtle projection in there. I want others to see me.
Mm-hmm.
And when we put that back to that reflection side of it, I want to see me.
Yeah.
That also allows us to see where we are currently, or where we're blind to all of the things that we're neglecting.
Yeah.
If it's sleep, if it's movement, if it's nutrition.
All of the above, right? Yeah.
And then could that be part of your purpose?
Yeah. Like
My
that's
purpose
the
is
unattainable.
To see me.
Yeah.
And also,
when
what could that do to your art?
literally just had that conversation with you. That's what I mean. That's what I mean is that like when people get so, it's the I, we all, it's that principle. And a lot of people have that backwards. A lot of people have it like, because again, I think today's day and age, as we round this out, it's like, there's this humbleness that we're supposed to be so like take care of the community, and that's very important. And I also come from an indigenous background too on that, where it is so community based. At the end of the day though, how good are you for your community if you're not good for yourself? Like you can only show up at 50%. How is that good for your community? You're only half of what you could be. That seems selfish actually. That like when you look at it that way. And then the greater good, maybe it's the music community or humanity even. Like a lot of artists are like, I just want to make the world a better place. I'm like, well, how about you start with your world? What would that look like? Because if you make your world better, then they're going to make their world better. And then over time, if we get enough people doing that for themselves, then the whole world is changed. Like it's just that, it's that micro to macro with the macro in picture. You know what I mean?
And that's Tikkun Olam in a nutshell.
Oh, wow, I knew it. Dude, I have a quick thing that we did this segment last week, and a new friend and one of the artists that I've been connecting with this week, she brought it up today. She was like, I saw this lyric on TikTok. I'm like, who is this? So I'd love to go into that here and get your thoughts on this, because it really, really hits it on the head here today as far as like artistry, athleticism, and the idea of purpose and identity. So I want to read this to you. And I've never heard the song. I want to clear this. I've never even heard the song. I don't even know the artist. Listen to this. Someone will love me the way that I am. What? What? What are your immediate thoughts?
So like my coach brain goes one way,
Yeah.
and my again, because I've been listening to so much
AFI.
Yeah.
This is
And I was like,
this is
it sounds
Davey's
like-
lyric.
yeah, exactly.
Yep. Sounds right.
Yeah. That comes back to this, well, is there nobody in your life that loves you? Period. Nobody's ever, not a single, isn't that a bit insulting to the people who do love you right now?
Yeah, that's
And
a
also-
really good approach.
It's one side of it, and the other side of it being, well, aren't you someone?
Bingo. Don't you love you?
Yeah.
I go back to like, yeah.
It would be cool if there was because we don't know the song. I think it would be really cool from a songwriting perspective is then to what was the lyric again?
Someone will love me the way that I am.
Tacking on next verse is and I found that to be me, or
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that could be empowering. That could be great. That could be amazing.
It can turn it right around.
Yeah. And that takes
the
people
thing-
on the journey.
Yeah, that's the thing that
Tells
I
the
was
story.
like. That was where the conversation was in my conversation with Micah, and she said, I mean, and that's what I loved about her music when I was listening to the deep dive and just getting to know her as an artist, like listening to her stuff and trying to I love doing that, even in my intakes, like a walk up jam like that. I can learn so much by what people are listening to about that person in their psyche. And the thing that we were connecting on that point is that her music was up on the sad depressing playlist. And I'm like, that's okay, because what you're doing is you're connecting with people that you can then move out of that if you're doing it right. And that's what her whole purpose when we talk about it is to do, is to connect and to bring that and show that people that despite where you are right now, you have the choice to move out of that. Right. And that was the overarching message. And then she brought up this lyric and I'm like, that's a powerful lyric. And I mean that. That's a very fascinating lyric, because you could look at it and if you choose to stay there, you are going to forever feel like that. And you bring up a point that I didn't even consider is what about the people that do love you? That's because I believe that they are there. you know? And oftentimes my coaching brain goes, as soon as I see some times or someone, we usually mean one. So I would even go in, okay, so who is this person that has hurt you?
Yeah.
And then ultimately that's a projection, and then we reflect it back and we're like, oh, so you're the one that's hurting yourself right now. Interesting. You know, and when we uncover those deeper motives in lyrics that are so connecting and powerful to those other people, we then have the opportunity to take them from that place, that deep, dark, sad place, and bring that out and be like, okay, cool. So that was a moment, important to feel it. And this is another moment that we could probably feel from there. You know, the next line, like you said, could be very empowering. Could be, and guess who it was, you know?
Yeah. I was just listening to my distant cousin's band. Good old Pearl Jam.
Oh, yeah, all right. Eddie,
exactly.
big rock
and
star.
like this just reminds me of the song Black. There's that bridge section.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? Like I know someday you'll shine. I know someday you'll be a star in somebody else's sky.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, cool. So many different things you can go there. I mean, that could be a Post-it note on his mirror, like a reminder to himself.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's actually a positive way to look at that. Like, you will be a star, even though you don't believe it. All you need to do is like keep on creating the art, because you will be. And that's a conversation that I have with many artists. I'm like, your job is to release it, not worry about what people think about it. Your job is to get it out of you. That's your job. Let them have the agency to make it or break it in their lives. Your job is to get it out. That's it.
When you release it, it's no longer yours.
Bingo. Thank you, Rick Rubin.
Exactly.
Peace. Right? Dude, any closing thoughts?
You know, my closing thought would be, for those of you listening along, thank you, first of all, and also take some time to look at yourself with this, of like, do I purely have a goal, or have I really found a deeper purpose for myself?
Mm-hmm.
What is it? What is that piece of me that drives me forward? Because it also allows us to outsource our decision making in a lot of ways too. Yeah. Because I firmly believe that this stuff comes back to our identity. And when I believe that I'm the type of person that has this purpose or lives this way, I no longer have to make the decisions on how I operate from day to day.
It's just part of you. It's like, it's the difference between when I run into people and I was doing full-time strength training, just regular 9-to-5ers, corporates. The difference I saw, and I, at the time, probably unaware, same kind of person, different mentality. They would say, oh, I'm trying to quit smoking, versus I don't smoke. They're in the same process.
Yeah.
But that mentality, it's like the same full circle. People that take stairs. People that are willing to do the thing rather than wait for the easy ride. That's literally an elevator. It's a lift. I need a lift. Do you really need a lift? Or can you just take the stairs? You can get there yourself.
And that's called lifting yourself up.
Full circle. What are we going to talk about next week, dude? How do we segue this into next week? Because I'd love to continue this thought. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I had one and I lost my sticky.
Oh no!
And I'm gonna be, I'm gonna admit that. I'm gonna admit my foible, of my messy desk on the air.
It's all right.
Yeah,
it's good. Lost your sticky.
Yeah, I had one that I was really into. Let's get a little bit more into the athletic side of things.
Yeah.
And let's talk. Let's get into the nitty gritty of what does movement look like for our musician friends.
Yeah, and like, why is it such a why is it such a tough pill to swallow to actually accept that you are an athlete if you're on a stage? I don't care if your music is like just as a hobby, or if your artistry is in a different, like, because like there's ways to move that is like art, right? Like I think they go hand in hand. I think movement is art, and then art is also movement, right? So it's like, I'd love to explore that, and what like you know how a couple weeks ago we were talking seasons, like how does the movement really fit into, like you said, the periodization of what that looks like on a day one, and how do we know when we're doing the right exercise? And to launch us into that, what is the workout of the week for folks that are watching this? Yeah, what's the workout or the exercise? What's the exercise of the week?
I'm gonna put out a challenge for folks
Okay, cool.
this week, because we are in the throes of Squattober.
Yeah, right.
20 squats of your choice this week, every day.
Dope.
It can be air squats, goblet squats. You can get the mace out, do some barbarian squats.
Yeah,
You
dude.
can back squat, front squat, Zercher squat. I feel like what was it?
Bubba Gump.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
Bubba-
got fresh shrimp. I got shrimp on a stick, shrimp on a
Exactly.
bun.
I feel like
I
that
got
every time I talk about
Cajun
squats.
shrimp.
Safety bar
Bubba.
squats.
Yeah, bar squats. Got
Belt
hack
squats.
squats. Got belted squats. Got banded squats. Got Cossack
yeah.
squats.
Yeah, 20 every day.
Bulgarian
Your choice.
split squats. Like, I don't give a shit what kind of squats you do. Just do 20 of them. I love that. Okay, cool. I'm up for it. Now, how do we stay accountable to that for folks listening?
I'm gonna, here's what I'm gonna do. Is I'll post it in my stories every day.
Okay.
Me doing my 20 squats. Can
You
help
tag me,
yourself to
I'll
that?
tag you. Yep.
do it.
You and me do it. Okay.
Hell
You
yeah.
tag me, I tag you. We'll do that. Story it up.
And we'll see
Make
how
it
many
look
different
fun,
squats
fresh.
we can see how many different squats we can find for ourselves.
For in a week? Jesus. It's only 20 a day? Jesus.
Only 20
okay.
a day.
That's easy. Okay. That's breakfast. That's literally breakfast. That's when I'm making coffee. I'm doing squats or Tai Chi.
And it's also something that somebody can play along at home.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Deal. And then anybody who does, just tag us. Tag us up. Instagram, Facebook, wherever
Challenge
you're
your
watching
friends.
this. Tag a
The
friend.
Mid Squattober challenge.
Okay. 20 a day. Let's do it. Okay, buddy. I appreciate you and your time and your energy. And then next week, let's dive in on the happenings of those squats and how we can take that and move it into exercise programming that is conducive to a tour schedule or a studio schedule or something like that.
Whatever season you find yourself in.
Dude,
Gotcha.
I need to get better at this. I need to I almost hit the really wrong button. That's the right one, and I was this close to doing like I was like, oh, it's the wrong button.
I would have lost it.
All right, brother. Okay, till next week. Thank you so much for everybody happening to watch this or any of the replays. And Jer, dude, make it a fantastic. It's Thanksgiving for us up here, so
Okay.
turkey time for us. I know that's a little later for you, so
Indigenous
Enjoy
Peoples
yourself.
Days, so that's what we got.
there you go. All right, dude. Stay sweet, brother. We'll talk to you soon.